took some, I took some seminars and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Hi there.
Hey, you guys.
Michael Allison.
Hey, good to see you.
We're starting without you.
Apparently, awesome. I'm like, am I in the right meeting? Because it says join meeting.
Cool. Paul Landman, where are you?
Sacramento, California.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Where,
cool.
where
Yeah,
are you
I'm in LA.
located? You're in LA?
Yeah.
Hi, Paul.
Are you in LA too?
I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And how did you find Polyvagal?
Let's see. How did I find it? I'm trying to think how I actually came to it. Well, I'm a licensed therapist, okay, and I was getting my hours, and so I was interested in it. I guess I took a Deb Dana seminar.
Yeah.
So then I took her seminar class online.
Okay.
And then I got involved with, I guess I joined PVI, right?
Yep.
And then I got involved with the woman FSBM.
FSBM.
FS, what is it called? It's PS, Polyvagal Theory, PT, or whatever it is. It's the woman who's actually is involved with polyvagal theory, but in relation to trauma and relation to addiction.
Got it. So Jan, you're talking about Jan. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think she'll be jumping in. I think she'll be joining us.
Good. I read her book.
Great.
And I liked her book. I thought there were pieces in it that were missing from Deb Dana's work. Not missing, but it was addition to.
Yeah.
So it's been helpful. So I'm actually learning to apply it on a daily basis. You know, how do I apply it? You know, because it's so intimate to our lives.
Yes.
I mean, all the time. You know,
yes.
You can't escape your nervous system.
No.
So
no. And we try. We try.
Yeah, we try. We go into our heads and we have all kinds of.
We try.
Right. But so I'm pretty fascinated with it. And the idea of actually talking with others who are also familiar with it would be helpful to me, because people who are actually studying it and wanting to apply it on a daily basis would be interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. The day doesn't go by that I'm not consciously engaging in something related to learning more about it.
Right.
Or practicing embodying it more.
Embodying it, exactly.
Yeah. And really talking about it with others, right? And part of that is sharing it, which then helps us practice it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's my goal for this group, is that we bring a bunch of us from a lot of different fields and different backgrounds, and also sort of different leadership roles or coaching roles. And we come together and we start really creating a supportive group that gets more creative, shares ideas, and we start helping each other embody it more and more.
That's great.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like it's right up my alley.
Welcome. I'm asking you guys to unmute so we can at least say hello. Hey, Maddie.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you.
Nice to see you too. How are you?
I'm wearing glasses so I can see a little more clearly. I'm now 51 and my wife is laughing because I finally got my first pair of readers.
At 51, I think that's amazing.
Oh, is it? Because I was like, oh.
Oh no, I think I've been since grade 4. So.
Oh, great. Oh, and I see Ray. Are you there? I see a Ray. So, I'm if anyone wants to help me do something like this, I'm much more used to small, like one-on-ones. I don't do a lot of groups on Zoom. So if I need some help, somebody please jump in. Feel free.
You got it.
Great, thank you. And are you going to play us a little tune too while you're there? You're going to get us
I don't know about a tune. I could kick some beats for you.
I think so. Yeah. It's awesome. So there's about 20 people signed up. So we'll give it some time and just chit chat. So I've met Maddie, Adam, and Maddie is a voice coach.
Oh, great.
And coaches all kinds of actors and politicians and different things, and is heavily also knowledgeable about polyvagal theory as well. So
Hi.
yeah, that's Maddie up in the corner.
Yeah, so that prosody affects how your clients use their voice, I'm sure, their physical state. You found a lot of application in it, Maddie?
I really have. It's just, Adam, I was telling Michael when I discovered the theory, and in particular, his play zone, I was literally jumping up and down and screaming. And my office faces the street, and I was wondering what my neighbors thought, because it was just such a symbiotic relationship to the work that I do. It's just been wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a drummer, drum teacher. I'm really excited to be applying polyvagal theory to my instrument. And yeah, I was looking on the polyvagal website for something having to do with performance. I'm like, man, do I have to continue to study and find this thread? And then I saw Michael's class, like, oh, the work's been done. Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah, I had exactly the same response. Yeah. It's great.
So the work's been started, at least, and now we'll do it all together.
Yeah, the thread's been created, though. You definitely established the link.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle.
Hey there.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to introduce yourself and what you do too. We have a little time.
Oh, okay. I'm Michelle Lee, and I teach Pilates, and I have a health and wellness business. I'm a mom. I think this theory is going to apply to everything in my life.
Yeah. So Michelle's a little bit newer to the theory than you guys. You guys have been around it a little bit longer, but she's been embodying it without knowing it for a long time.
You give me a lot of credit, Michael. Thank you. I just emailed you some questions. I'm sorry that
oh, awesome.
I'm not more on top of it.
That's okay.
Left the email hanging.
Feel free to just ask those questions.
Okay.
Get into it.
All righty.
Marcus is up in the middle of the night. Unbelievable. You're awesome, Marcus. So good.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning.
Where are you?
I'm based in Madrid, Spain. It's 1:30 a.m. here.
Oh,
hey,
wow.
Would you mind checking on my daughter? Because I'm sure she's up right now in Madrid too.
I just saw her.
Yeah, you probably did. So my daughter's studying in Madrid for a semester. She's at Berkeley normally, but she's in Madrid. So we're going over in June, and I'm gonna meet up with Marcus when we get over there. But he's on second parent duty over there.
Exactly. That's how I get my extra money.
That's right.
Awesome. Where is everybody else from?
Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm from Sacramento.
I'm Australian, but I live in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Canada or Washington? Canada?
Vancouver, Canada, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is that how you know Michael, Michelle? By being in the same city somehow?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Maybe I met you through Casper?
Or maybe my wife. You may have met me through Jamie too.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of connections, I think.
Yeah.
And
but
just
we've
fitness.
crossed paths on and off for many years.
Yeah. Well, and you had Pilates at your studio for a while.
Yeah. So some of you may or may not know, I've owned a personal training center for about 22 years here in Santa Barbara. And so I really got into this originally through movement and training people how to exercise. But I quickly learned that it was a much deeper experience than that, and much more of a physiological and psychological relationship. And that's what sort of led me into, originally I kind of was getting into behavior science, and I realized that actually was effective for some habit change, but not when it really came down to the really important and really life-changing patterns that people were facing that weren't helpful any longer. And that led me into meeting Rick Hansen and Neuroplasticity. And I started mentoring with Rick for quite a while. And then he introduced me really to Polyvagal Theory, along with a yoga therapist here in town that also was at a Peter Levine conference and had heard all about Deb Dana and Porges's work. And that was what ignited me sort of jumping in. And it just made so much sense from my whole history of growing up and what I had experienced and how I had some dorsal experiences in my life. And then I sort of started working out when I was a junior in high school. And it's very interesting because as I started working out and mobilizing, I started to get really angry. And I was actually starting to get angry at people that I knew really cared about me and didn't really know what was going on. But I was mobilizing because I was coming out of dorsal. And luckily for me, I met an amazing girl, and particularly she and her family. And they were this giant cocoon of safety. And it contained my mobilized fight energy at the time. And it really turned it into, now I realize that it's full circle, it's the play zone. And it brought me into safe play. And it was amazing. But that was really fortunate because I don't know where I would have gone with that mobilized fight energy at the time. So I truly understand this at a deep level just because I lived it as well. And you all may have your own stories too. I'm sure we do. So that's how I got into it. And it's really now how I look at the world and how I particularly look at my relationships with everyone and how I'm experiencing the world. So I'm all in, and it's exciting to meet others who just want to continue to evolve and grow, right? And become more connected with themselves and then ultimately with others, without that sounding like a cult, which I don't, that's not what I'm trying to do here, but it's cool. And the science piece of it was really important to me. I was trained as an engineer, and that's what I went to school for before moving into the world of fitness. And so the science behind it, the neuroanatomy and the physiology was really important. And I think we're seeing how it just proves what we knew intuitively, what we were doing for a really long time. So I will just jump in. I have a little presentation and that I just want to jump into a little bit because I want to sort of just get the topic going about kind of what I'd like us to talk about. So let me see if I can share my screen here. All right, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we'll see if anybody else jumps in. So that I just told you enough about me. And I like to do sports, and there's a lot of reasons why I like to really look at sports, because it's really easy to see the sequence we all follow, those reactive responses that we all share. It's just so right in our face. It also exposes a lot of our cultural myths, right? And how we're glorifying and glamorizing certain things that aren't necessarily healthy or optimal. And then ultimately it tells a story of what it's like to be human. We can really connect with the athletes or the performers, and we can feel what they're experiencing, and we can experience it along with them. And it's also interesting because we find ourselves aligning with some people, and we also become fans of others and join with other fans, and we have this camaraderie. It's just a fascinating look at the human experience through sport. So that's why I really like to look at it, but it's ultimately just a metaphor. It's a metaphor for how we live each day. right? So I'm going to go through, I don't think any of you have seen these pictures. Well, maybe Marcus has a little bit, but this was taken from the Australian Open just a couple of months ago. And this is a player who's number 3 in the world. His name's Zverev. And I'm just going to go through him quickly because I want you to just feel the experience, okay, of what he's experiencing. This is at the beginning of the match. He's shaking the ball kid's hand. He's in a good place right here. But within minutes of the start of the match, if you look at him here, there's a lot of muscle tension, a lot of effort, his facial expressions, the muscle tension in his arms, the amount of perspiration he already has. So he clearly is highly mobilized. This isn't calm and relaxed mobilization. This is, when I look at him, I see flight. I see a lot of sympathetic flight, right? Like, so he didn't sustain control. He went right into flight very quickly. And within another minute, this is like the very next point. Look at his body language here. You can feel it. That's not even flight anymore. That's beginning to shut down. It's fascinating. He's got very little muscle tension here. It's already depleting, right? Here he's even crouching. This is about 40 minutes into the match, first set. And he's completely crouching down. He's guarded, he's protected. He's looking up at his coach's box. He's looking for support. So he intuitively knows, hey, I need somebody else. I can't do this alone. He lost the first set. He's sitting there. He's actually completely like confused. And he's looking again at his coaching box and he's like, what's going on? I don't understand. Right? And he has very little resource and he has very little strategies for how to handle this. Comes out, first game of this next set, and he's trying to pump himself up. This is great. He's actually trying to get some mobilized energy because he senses he's losing energy. He's getting into that dorsal response. So he's pumping himself up. He's tightening his muscles in his arms. He's actually screaming and he's generating some sympathetic fight. Okay. But within one point, this is the very next point, look at his posture again. So he's already deflated after losing that point. He was up 40-30. Now it's 40-all. And he's deflated. And these are not conscious choices, right? Here he is about 2 points later, and he's smashing his racket. He's again, his body knows I've got to amp up. I'm falling and depleted and moving more and more into shutdown. And he smashes a racket, which again is mobilizing, but it's not ideal because he's not actually directing it toward executing something, but he's at least mobilizing. Okay. Again, another point later, right back, checked out. Oh my gosh, what's going on? So he's just toggling back and forth, toggling. Here he is again. He's kind of amping up, but doesn't even have enough energy to amp up, but he's got a little muscle tension going. And then again, what's going on? And then again. And he had just won this game. This is what's fascinating. He had won the game. It's even. It's 2-2 in the second set. And he still has no energy going. Here he is again, walking off. It's 5-5 now in the second set. The commentators are all going, hey, he's right in this match. It's even. He's real close. He's got this. You know, it's a 5-set match. But if you look at this body and look at that left hand in particular, that's not a body that's confident and in control, right? This is a blurry picture. I apologize. I was taking all of these on ESPN. I was zooming in and this was in the background. So I just saw him do this. They weren't putting this on the camera. So I tried to zoom in and get a snapshot, but here he is trying to break his racket again, but he stops himself. He overrides it. His body wanted to break the racket and he stops it. Knowing what I know and what we're all exploring, he probably didn't do himself service here. Probably would have benefited to actually let his body chuck the racket, which is odd to say, but it probably would have. Here he is looking again at his team. He's saying, I don't know what to do. Somebody help me. And this is the most fascinating picture. This is his team. These are all four of these. One of them is actually his father, but they're all his coaches and support team. And look at their bodies. Look at what they're sending to him. Arms crossed, looking down, looking away, shoulders slumped. All right. So he's looking at his coach and his team for support, for connection. But they are also all under threat and they are mimicking what they saw him experience. And They're not there to support him. We are all doing that to one another all the time, whether we know it or not, right? Like that's what's fascinating about this too. And here he was within minutes after that, he's done. He's walking off, head down, couldn't even look at the fans when he was leaving. So I look at sports, like I said, it's really a magnifying glass of the human experience. So what is the human experience? So basically in every moment, every situation, every interaction on the court, off the court, we either feel safe, we feel in danger, or we feel overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed by threat at every moment, including right this second, right? This impacts how we experience the world, how we interact with everyone, and how we feel about ourselves on the inside, right? It also impacts our health and our resilience and our performance. This is what we're after. This is the shared journey, right? We're on, and I'm going to quote Porges here, we're on an enduring, lifelong quest to feel safe, right? These are my daughter's 20 or 17 years ago. I think she's 4 and almost like a few months old, Kate and Sam and little Leopard here. And this is what we're all after all the time, no matter what. And it drives all of our behaviors, drives our thinking, our feelings, is we're on this quest. The problem is, and this is universal, and Porges really points this out well, is that we misunderstand what safety really is. We misinterpret safety as removing danger, right? Putting up fences, when in reality, safety emerges inside our body, right? At the neural level. So the outcome is we're either walking around angry on the left. If you look at the left picture here, we're either angry, aggressive, and overreactive. Or in the middle, we're anxious, we're unsettled, we're stressed out, struggle to just sit and be peaceful. Or on the right, we're withdrawn, we're hopeless, we're disconnected. And we tend to label that as intentional. And what polyvagal theory really tells us is these are bodily reactions, right? It doesn't mean we're helpless to regain control, but we just want to first acknowledge where it's really coming from. And then collectively, the result is what we see here. We have systemic levels of anxiety and loneliness, depression, disconnection. We're seeing more and more addictive behaviors, chronic pain, medically unexplained symptoms. And in fact, I thought this was fascinating. 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. That's amazing. But when you look at it from the neural perspective, it's actually not. Makes a lot of sense. So the solution, which is what we're trying all to do, is we're actually trying to help our bodies feel safe on the inside, right? To be able to rest and be still in homeostasis, to be able to navigate challenges and to intentionally shift through different physiologies. It's okay to ramp up, but we want to be able to ramp up with control. And if we do lose control, we want to know how to recover back to safety fully. So that is sort of the new way that I'm looking at health and resilience, is I'm looking at it as, it's no longer just, I'm going to flip to, it's no longer this. This is how I used to when I was really immature. This is how I'd look at health. Oh, he's ripped. He's in great shape. He has the capacity to endure. She eats really well, clean, strict diet, does everything right, disciplined, always shows up. Or an athlete, able to fight, never give up, right? Grit, grind, do anything. That's kind of the old way. And what I'm after here, and what I'd love for us to do together, is to start spreading a different approach to what health and resilience and performance are all about, right? It's the capacity to meet our body where it is. It's the ability to flexibly navigate those different states, to face challenges, but with control, with intention, with awareness. And it's the ability to fully recover back to ventral safety when we blow it, when we lose control, right? That's okay, but we need to know how to come back. And then really importantly, which I underestimated as a younger person, and until I really discovered polyvagal theory, was the engaging in safe and trusting and playful relationships, and how that is such a powerful, powerful piece of health and wellness. So I want to just share this. This is from Valentine's Day. This is a card, and it says, "My favorite spot in the world." And then I'll flip to the tagline here. "My favorite spot in the world is with you." Okay. And this is a card given by this gentleman here, the bald guy. His name's Ed. And Ed is 87 and Ann is 86. And I have trained Ed 5 days a week for 25 years. And then in the last couple of years, Ann has joined us. So I meet with them every single day, and they are the epitome of what health is, the way I'm seeing health now. He bought her that card at the car wash, because that's how he pronounces wash. It's the car wash. And he bought her that card and he gave it to her. And it was so cute. And he signed it. And she's like, "Ed, why'd you sign that card? Why didn't you put a sticky note on there so we could reuse that card next time?" Anyway, I just wanted to share with you, because if we go all the way back to that picture of my two daughters, we're on this lifelong, enduring quest to feel safe, and to feel safe on the inside, and to feel safe with another, which is what they have. So that's my little intro. And what I'd like to do in this group is to create that safe space here, right? What I call a container of safety, and to turn it into the play zone where we feel safe enough with one another to share ideas and to explore what we're each doing and how we are individually applying polyvagal theory to our own lives and to whatever it is we're doing, right? That's the goal of this group. And then ultimately, I could see that we take turns and we have different people present and we talk about different things, and we start building a real community around how are we embodying polyvagal theory in a way that's healthy and resilient and maybe performance, right? Whether it's just in our personal lives or through how we're coaching and leading others. So let me end screen share. So there you have it. Anybody want to say anything? Jump in. You can unmute.
I love what you just said.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things that it applies to, you know, like you were saying, it's a way of life. And, you know, my thought is, gosh, I've got kids. I have, 2 teenage daughters who, you know, they don't want to have much to do with their mom right now. And, you know, I feel myself in, I don't know if it's called dorsal, but I get dorsal, I think. So I want to like figure out how to manage that. And I just took your course, you know, I finished it up today.
Awesome.
And, you know, my thoughts are like, okay, how do I do it? You know, and some of my questions, well, I have a bunch of questions, but
pick
like,
one, go for it.
Some of them are like logistical, like are fight and flight in the same zone in the hierarchy? Are they considered the same thing?
That's a great question.
Move from one to another? Do you have to go through them?
Yeah. So the way polyvagal theory puts fight and flight together as sympathetic mobilization, I differentiate them from the standpoint of fight tends to have a little more intentionality behind it. So there's a little more metabolically, they might be very similar in that they're both diverting resources away from homeostasis, away from health, away from relating with others. metabolically, but there's a level of intention or a level of awareness that's slightly different, right? So fight sympathetically might look the same, but you might have more cognition going. You might have a little bit more awareness than when you're in flight, right? So flight is more scattered, kind of more uncertain. Fight, you can zone in on something. Doesn't mean it's healthy, doesn't mean it's the optimal direction, but there's a direction toward it. So, but from the standpoint of polyvagal theory, just being mobilized, you could be mobilized in fight or flight. And from the experience of it, some of us don't put up much fight, right? Like some of us show very little fight. And when we mobilize, we go right into flight, right? Does that make sense?
So they're both mobilizing. You might mobilize in different ways.
That's right. Yeah. And you might mobilize in different ways in different experiences and different interactions, but they're both autonomically, they're both lumped together in polyvagal theory. I put fight closer to play because it has a little more intention. It has a little more awareness, right? Which is to get to play. It's closer to play, the way I frame it.
Okay.
And Porges agreed. He hasn't necessarily tested that out, but he said it's very plausible that would be the case.
Okay.
So in real life, what we're going to do is we're going to feel mobilized, and then it's up to us to sort of, oh, am I attacking? Am I running away? Right? Either way, what can I do to help myself feel safer? What can I do to help myself feel like I can control something that's within my control, that I can regain some safe physiology so that I'm not attacking something I don't want to attack, be it my daughter. Right. And I'm with you. I have two teen. Well, now my oldest is 21. So she's an adult. So it's over. No, it's not. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's my other question too, because like I'm sitting here watching and I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. I just have to like pause and breathe and do this and that. And in the moment, it's like, how do you stop yourself? Right. That's because it is so reflexive. It feels reflexive.
It is.
And my curiosity is around how do you gain control over that? And, you were talking about like vagal tone. That's kind of your ability, in my opinion, like what I understood is your ability to, I guess, control that or have the awareness of that to control it.
Yeah. I mean, underneath our safe physiology, underneath all of that is a measurable neurophysiology, right? So there is a particular heart rate, a particular respiratory component to heart rate. There's a particular level of perspiration, a particular level of metabolism that equates to that safe, relaxed, calm space. Now, the more that we sort of train off the stage, so the more that you practice being in a state of calm, however that is for you, whether it's a breathing practice, whether it's meditation, whether it's going out on a walk, right? The more that we're practicing that calm, relaxed clarity, whatever you want to call it, if we were measuring your heart rate, particularly if we were measuring your heart rate variability linked to your breathing, what we should be seeing is we should be seeing a higher amplitude, right? That goes up as you breathe in and goes down and slows down as you breathe out. The heart rate speeds up. And actually, the more that we see that linked to our breathing, that is a very good measure of your threshold for what you can handle. But it's not everything. But that is a very good starting place, right? So that's why we do breathing practices. That's why we do meditation. That's why we do things to calm. We're trying to help our physiology rest in that homeostatic place that has this beautiful flow of heart rate increasing and decreasing with our breathing. That's what we're after. But that still doesn't mean that you're going to not overreact when something happens, because there's another particular component to this, and that's that vagal efficiency component. That's that ability to release a little bit of the vagal control of the heart so you can speed up, so you can get some mobilized energy going without it flooding into full sympathetic. And that's a really key piece. And the difficulty right now with that is we don't have a way to measure that. We don't actually have a wearable that I'm aware of, and I've asked Porges about this too. We don't actually have a wearable that measures vagal efficiency. It's in the works, but it's not there. So we're really going more on experience in that regard. Now you can certainly try to improve it by doing that. That's how I look at intervals in the gym, right? That's how I would look at doing higher intensity physical exercise, right? Where you're going to do an interval of some kind, but not lose control. Well, what's that mean? Well, the way I say not lose control is you don't lose control of your breathing. You push your body as hard as you can while still maintaining nasal breathing. That would be a really easy way to sort of train that vagal efficiency. And then you immediately, as soon as you get to that threshold where you feel as though you can't control it, then you stop and you immediately help yourself recover. And if you can do it with a person, even better, right? So if you can start cueing safety with another, and that's what makes training or Pilates or some other coaching experience really nice, is that you can help your athlete get to that threshold, but not lose control, and then immediately help calm them through your words, through your body expressions and all that, because that's what we're really trying to do. We're just trying to release that vagal control, release that vagal brake to elevate and then recontrol. And how does that play out in your relationship with your daughter? Well, same way, is you feel that urge, but you don't actually release the brake completely and flood and go fully sympathetic. And that's what's happening. When you lose control, or I lose control, it's because I lost the vagal brake completely, gone, and I'm flooded by sympathetic. Whereas that's why being more, quote, physically fit and able to do more interval training might carry over into being able to regulate yourself in those relationships.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be along the same line. Like I'm thinking, okay, what are some exercises to bring me to the brink with my kids so I can practice pulling back?
Well, then I would do that through visualization. I would do that through visualization. That would be my approach. But you guys, somebody else jump in. Somebody might also have a great idea in that. That would be me. I would do that through visualization or through writing out something and trying to get, or simulating it in some other arena.
Quick question. Do you think it translates? So doing that from an athletic standpoint, doing intervals is going to help.
Yeah, because you're training your physiology. You're training your physiology. Yeah. Okay. Will it carry over on a one-to-one? Not necessarily, but will it carry over? Sure. Yeah. Cold shower. That's how I look at cold showers. Is that initial surge, but maintaining control. Right. That again is like heart rate's going to go up, but you're going to help yourself breathe, long exhale, keep the mouth closed, all that stuff. Right. So in the heat of the moment with your daughter, if you have the awareness, you say more words before you take your next in-breath, right? So that's lengthening your exhale. You become aware of your position in space. You feel your feet on the ground. So I would try to use the same strategies I teach in the course, right? About feeling yourself, feeling your posture, feeling grounded, right? As you see it all unfolding. Giving the cues and speaking the language of the nervous system, which is, things that are reliable and stable. But somebody else jump in. I'd love to hear some other parent give their.
Yeah, I really like the RSA approach of the fast inhale and the long exhale to decrease the heart rate. And whenever I feel kind of activated, I let that activation sort of fuel that, like sort of let whatever anger you're feeling, like really bring the air in. Yeah, and then like kind of just it naturally is going to want to have the long exhale, and so that's helpful for me. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Michelle. Like, what do you do? What's the, yeah, what's the go-to? And that's probably the simplest, most accessible one.
Yeah.
I might offer something too. I know where you're coming from. Look at your environment as well. Like, what are the other variables in your life right now that are triggering you into stress? Because your stress with her might be a byproduct of something else that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Totally.
Great point. Which under the hood is going to impact your baseline vagal tone.
Vagal tone.
Right.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah. So we're trying to basically create environments around us, and then internal environments, and then relational environments as much as we can to continue to build baseline vagal tone. Really, that's what we're after.
I'm experiencing, well, today I was experiencing a lot of dorsal, but at the same time, there's a way of being with, the word being with dorsal, or being with, for me, I think it's more being with dorsal than sympathetic. Sympathetic, I go off. but with being with dorsal, where you can come into presence, where by being with it in a particular way, you can come into presence, and that it's almost like it can release the dorsal response more. So that's what I've been sort of experiencing more when I can do it.
Awesome. In polyvagal language, I would say what you're doing is you're containing the dorsal with some ventral.
Right.
You're partnering the dorsal with enough ventral that now you're actually, you're entering stillness and maybe even a hint of tranquility, right? Solitude, right? And so it may start out as dorsal loneliness, but then through something you're doing, whether it's bringing your attention to the environment, the actual context, or your breathing or posture, or feeling it, but being with it, you're bringing in enough safety.
Yeah, it's actually going into the space.
Yeah.
Like, because basically when I'm in dorsal, I'm in sympathetic, there's almost an inbuilt resistance to it, not wanting to experience it, right? You don't want to experience those spaces because they're too hard to experience. But allowing yourself to really experience it allows you to come into some kind of ventral presence with it.
Yeah.
So the resistance part is what I guess I'm talking about, is that ability to separate yourself from it, but you have to totally allow yourself to be in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you resist it, it's going to have more strength. So, it's the way I've been working with it when I can. A lot of times it's sort of like, it's just automatic behavior, but when I'm aware of it, then I can experience some presence around it.
Love it. Yeah.
So is dorsal and sympathetic the same or different?
No, so dorsal is the most ancient response. That's where we actually conserve resources and we start shutting down. We start numbing out, dissociating. And again, it's when our nervous system deems that the environment, whether that's the internal environment, the external, or the relational environment, is overwhelming. It's too much to handle, or it's even life-threatening. Whether or not it's accurate, the other part of all of this is that, so that's what neuroception is that it's this ongoing scanning by our nervous system for cues of risk and cues of safety. But depending on what physiology we're currently in, that changes our neuroception, right? So if we're in a dorsal state, our nervous system is going to sense more danger, right? Same with when we're in a sympathetic state. It's going to be a little more tuned toward noticing what's threatening. It also might misinterpret neutral as threatening, and it will struggle to notice what's actually safe, right? So that's also really important to remember, is that, look, when I'm in any type of a defensive threat physiology, whether it's sympathetic or dorsal, to realize that I'm gonna have a little more difficult time really connecting with what is normally safe for me, right? And so, but that awareness in and of itself is some safety, right?
I like to use the word honor.
Honor.
Yeah, just to really honor what is going on in my body. I had a moment, I was at the sink the other day and I was so angry, and I was just honoring, okay, I'm angry. Okay, this is interesting. Well, all right, it's an automatic response. Where's my threat? Where's my danger? And I started to go, and just to honor what it was, and like, you know, picking up the baton there with Paul, and what you're saying, Michael, is and giving it time to move through to the next phase, and through the breath. And I just read from Stephen that the breath is the portal to the nervous system. And I just loved that. And it just really helps me in those moments.
Yeah, great. Yeah, breath is one of the most powerful, right? Gateways in. Yeah,
I liked Michelle's question differentiating between fight and flight. And I think I've noticed that somatic experiencing suggests that some activation in the hands is more associated with fight, and activation in the feet is more with flight. Have you noticed that in polyvagal as well?
Yeah. You could be more clenching for fight, right? And feet, you're talking about escaping, maybe running, kind of getting away.
As a drummer, I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And in the jaw, right? Fight is very jaw, really tense. The eyes in fight will constrict more, contract, and really zero in. Whereas in flight, they're going to be open. They're going to be scanning. They're going to be darting around, right? So that's a really clear indicator for yourself too. Or am I really scanning the environment? That's more flighty. Fight, you're going to zero in, right? And so what I teach to athletes is, well, that's a really good resource, because if I'm really scattered and just defending and reacting, I might intentionally tighten my jaw or contract my eyes and really focus and zero in. I might do what you just said. I might tense to get a little more of that energy directed deliberately to fight. Because in the performance hierarchy that I created, I'm saying fight is closer to play because it has a little more awareness and intentionality toward it. And then all you need to do is contain it with enough safety and certainty and feedback that it's executing. And next thing you know, you're in play. It's not far away.
By the same token, flight would be closer to that dorsal shutdown.
Yes.
Because you're overwhelmed. And
that's right. You got it. That's why I put them lower, even though they're lumped together metabolically.
So I have a great difficulty with fight. I mean, as a child, and I'm 40 now, and I find fighting a very difficult thing for my nervous system. Conflict really puts me immediately into dorsal. And I just started doing your course. And one of the things is to recognize the bodily states and name them, right? Yes. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to do this. This is so boring. But the thing what happened through writing that whole thing, and you actually start with dorsal and take us to play, right? In the course where you have to write about how each state manifests in your body. What I realized, this was a very big realization, is that both in dorsal and in flight, I don't sense myself at all. I'm constantly looking for some kind of a protector to lift me up. And the more I am experiencing fight and also aggression, I actually enjoy the feeling of coming into me.
Yeah.
And I thought this was absolutely fantastic, because now I'm only sensing me, which is very not my daily experience at all.
Gotcha.
But then in play, something else happens, because in aggression, I always go into self-harm. I get so aggressive that I go into self-harm. But in play, I'm in a very healthy state. And after I did that exercise, I thought I really needed to mobilize my anger. But from anger, I needed to find my play, because that writing down experience of, bodily mapping my state, my breath, my stories itself gave me this urge to now look for play in my life, in
Great.
most of the things.
Awesome.
I'm still doing the course. I've just finished writing that. That itself was
Awesome.
very, very revealing for me about myself.
Great.
And so now, so for instance, if I'm listening to, if I'm actually watching a game of tennis, that itself puts me into dorsal because I can't take the audience booing people.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I was cooking the other day and the TV was on. And so I switched off from hearing these sounds to sounds of the mixie, of the smell, and I immediately went into play.
Awesome.
I could shift it immediately.
Awesome.
But this was attentional control. Yeah. I had to stop thinking about booing and start, smelling the food, start really listening to the sounds that I was making. And after a while, the sounds of booing didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So in these small ways, I'm trying at the moment. My question to you is, after 2 years, I'm going back to my studio.
Okay.
And I'm fearing people at the moment. I'm a dancer and I'm going to open up my space.
Okay.
And I can already feel a shutdown because 2 years has been only online connections.
Yeah.
I don't know how to bring in creativity when I am so shut down. I'm so tensed.
Yeah.
How do I'm again scared of fight, you see. Fight. I'm scared to mobilize also because that also makes me immediately go into panic. So after 2 years, I don't know what it would mean for me to open up my studio, welcome people back again and go into play.
Yeah.
This COVID has really reshaped my nervous system more into dorsal than anything else.
You're not alone. You're not alone, right? It's had an impact on all of us for sure.
Okay.
And for those of us, some of us live with others that help us and some of us don't, right? So there's a lot. So I mean, the first thing I would say is, one, it's you're aware of it. That's fantastic. You're already aware of kind of what you're up against and what your nervous system is telling you. And as long as you can sort of stay on your own side, right, and understand that's just your nervous system. That's how it's reacting. And so now, how can I help myself? How can I help myself? Right. And so that is the stuff that you're doing. It's the breathing. It's what you just did with the putting your attention on the cues that are safe to you. That's what I would recommend. Right. You put yourself in that environment and try to create the environment of your studio around what you know is safe. Right. The right music, the right smells. It sounds like you're very sensitive to smells too. So the right smells, the right look. Maybe there's some flowers in there, right? And just create that container of safety around you, right? That's the environment. Okay. And then is there a way that you can start with customers that you have in the past had a very good relationship with, that you naturally trust the most? Don't start with your most challenging customer, right? See if you can start with those that are safe for you. Right. I
think that's a great advice, with smell, with visual cues, and to start with people I trust. I think that's
people that are your most trusting, right? That you feel safest with, that also tend to anchor in ventral, right? Like what I've learned I always wondered, and this may be relevant to you or not. I've owned this fitness training facility for 22 years. And before that, I was training people and stuff too. And I'd always be amazed at how certain clients really matched other trainers. And I was looking at trainers as whether or not they were good based on their knowledge, right? Like I was very critical of who really understood movement and who didn't. And yet some trainers were highly successful and they were fantastic. And I didn't understand it. And it wasn't that, and as I've looked at it now and I've really kind of reflected on it, it wasn't even that these trainers were in ventral. It was that they were matching these clients where their clients were. And what I'm seeing more and more of as sort of managing more and more trainers and their clients is you actually see those that match their clients They are the ones that create their own reciprocal sense of safety, even if they're matched in sympathetic, right? What I'm getting at though is I want to be ventral and then be able to match my clients with the right amount of energy, the right amount of sympathetic or dorsal, while still being contained in ventral. Okay. So that's what I'm getting at, is it comes down to matching, right? And so since you naturally are feeling like when you've been retuned, that when you get in a social situation, you're kind of going dorsal. So I would pick people who have a safe energy that matches you. Ultimately, you're going to get back to being the one that matches, right? Like as a trainer, as a coach, as a therapist, what we're really doing is we're safe, we're in ventral, but we're shifting our energy. We're bringing on a little bit of sympathetic, or we're bringing on a little dorsal to match our client. That's what we're doing. And we're matching them. And then if they're in dorsal, we're going to give them some energy and some safety and bring them into a little bit of play, right? A little bit of play, a little bit of movement, a little bit of social connection. And if they're in sympathetic and really, really jazzed up and they're stressed out, we're going to stay in ventral, but we're going to match them there a little bit, but it's safer. And then we're going to slowly, through whatever it is we're doing, we're going to release some of that highly charged sympathetic, or that scattered all over the place, and we're going to organize it. And we're going to bring them down a little bit into the play zone. We're going to bring them into the right where they have some vagal control. That's really what we're doing, is we're kind of matching while still having enough ventral. And then we're going to bring them into what I call the play zone. Right. And that's how I'm looking at that. And what I wasn't seeing before I understood all this is that's what was happening, is clients and trainers were matching, and they might not ever get into the play, but they were matching in fight. And so they liked each other because they were in fight together and they shared fight. And that in itself created enough safety that maybe it was play. Maybe it was, and that's what worked out, right? And then you have two people in dorsal, and it was safe enough that maybe they gave each other enough that they got a little play too. So, but that's what was working. It wasn't about whether or not the person was teaching them what I thought was the right methods and movement. It had nothing to do with that.
This is very, very interesting that it's so less about teaching and actually about matching. And actually, two people in dorsal can still find safety, and two people in sympathetic
absolutely
will find safety. Yeah.
They can, or they can get further into one or the other. They can.
Okay. It's a deeper form of teaching, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A question about that. So you are matching them while maintaining yourself in ventral. And do you have the intention of trying to help them shift their state, or are you just meeting them where they're at?
No, I would, well, if someone is charged up in fight, yeah, I want to help them find enough safety to turn it into play, to turn it into, it's not that I need to take you all the way to sitting there and relaxed. That's the other part. That's why I like the play zone, is life doesn't have to be where you're sitting there doing nothing and you're chill. That's really healthy, but it also can be play. So in an exercise session, yes, I'm going to meet somebody who's supercharged, and I'm going to meet them there, and I'm going to release that energy, and I'm going to bring them into a much more regulated, playful state. And maybe it even ends with them relaxing. Maybe they are at the end, maybe they are chill. And then maybe they're taking that in as, what does that really feel like? How does it feel actually now to be relaxed and be at ease, right? Because that's kind of how I look at training now, is I sort of look at where are they? And then ultimately, I want them to be able to know where they are, right? I want them to understand how they're showing up. And then knowing how to match what they're going to do on their own with how they are, right? So the first thing is meeting our body where it is, right? Honoring our body, as Maddie put it, honoring the body. right?
Yeah, in terms of working with clients, this is just something that helped me a lot with my students because, after the pandemic, we come into my studio here and it can be a little awkward. And so I've been doing this grace practice, which is grounding, relaxation, awareness, centering, and energizing. So
Nice.
I think in any way, like I just immediately after going through those 5 things, the student has already forgotten about, where they were before that. And so if you are having a problem with a client, maybe that's a tool that could work. These are all kind of some embodiment practices that can help get people back into ventral.
Yep.
And then I noticed the drummer always plays the exercise better. Like they get frustrated, and they tense up and they're like, okay, grounding, I do this, relax, you go down the list and then they play it and it's better. And it's probably applicable to dance and voice.
Absolutely. Yeah. To everything.
Well,
And the coaching and the coaching business people. It's all right. Meeting them where they are and figuring out how I can bring the whole group into some shared container of safety that has the right energy and turns it into play, right? That's what the school system, imagine a school that turns into play.
Yeah, you really have to read the room. Like you have to be such a master as a coach to read the room, really.
The way you're defining play though, Michael, is it, because the way that Deb Dana, when she used the word play, she used ventral sympathetic related.
That's right.
Vagal break, right?
Ventral and sympathetic, that's play. Correct.
Is that the way you're defining play as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm containing the mobilization enough with safety. I'm also saying that dorsal, I'm expanding it a little bit. So you're getting me, you're right on that. Like, cause I was saying dorsal with enough safety can turn into play. It's not by definition their play, right? Polyvagal play means you're actually co-regulating while mobilizing. That's really the definition. My play zone is a little broader than that. You don't necessarily have to be with another to be in play. It just means that you have your sympathetic with enough ventral control that you're really just using your vagal brake. You're not actually flooding into full sympathetic. Yeah.
On that note, it's very, very interesting because I work with senior teams in the corporate world. And I had this conversation with the general manager of the Iberia Peninsula for one of the 4 big pharma companies. And we were talking about, his question was, what do I do with people that are hesitating to come back to work? They've been away 2 years, they're afraid, they have their own traumas. And I said, well, go back to the biological imperative, connectedness. It seems that that permeated. And the challenge that I'm facing now is that at the end of March, there's going to be a gathering of 350 employees for the first time after 2 years. And one of the first questions they asked me is, well, should we make this compulsory? And say, absolutely not. Some people are not ready. Some people are afraid. So we need to be very careful who accepts. So 270 have accepted.
Wow.
And my challenge now is to spend 2 days with them. And all we're going to do, the name of the 2-day workshop is going to be Reconnection.
Nice.
That's the name of the workshop.
Love it.
And we're not going to do anything other than play. That's it. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to do business. We're not going to go over strategy. We're not going to do about accountability or any of that. We're just going to do play. That's all we're going to do.
Great.
And it's going to be very interesting. I'm putting together my proposal tomorrow. I'm going to send it over tomorrow. So the first thought that I share with the organizer is that we're not going to sit them into teams. They're going to freely choose with whom they want to sit next to, interact, and that could be the best friend. So forget about the teams, forget about hierarchy, forget about anything. You just, as soon as you arrive, just go on and be next to your friends. That's it. So that's the first step. Be with your, and the idea I said to them was to start generating the safety. because we can't get them to play if they're coming from dorsal or if they're coming from flight or if they're afraid. We need to gradually get them to a place where they want to play. And then it's going to be fun and social. Spain is a very social country. So it's been very traumatic for us to keep social distance, since we always touching, we always reaching out. So anything that is keep the social distance is just so awkward that I need to play it very, very safely so that people could end up playing and really reconnect. That's the purpose of the 2 days. So there you go. It all started with a comment, and then the GM listened to it and said, I think you've got something there, and he's investing the money, and he's going to fly people from all over the country to one of the small islands, and we just putting the whole thing together. And you know, I may reach out to you, Michael, to get some ideas.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But that's my challenge now.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, you have to feel safe enough to play, right?
Yeah.
Especially to play with others, but that's the real joy in life ultimately, is the playing with others. Right, which is more of how Deb and Steve really refer to it. That's where the co-regulation piece comes in, and the reciprocal, you know, the role reversal and the reciprocal and the asynchronous. And that's really what play is. I just broadened out the play zone to really be that it's sympathetic, contained with enough ventral control, enough safety.
Yep. So I hear you, and I may not know how to pronounce your name, Rindula.
Yes.
How do I? Rindula. Miridula. Well, there you go, Miridula. So I hear you, and you know, it's I very much hear you. You know, I'm afraid, and I don't know, I'm sensitive, I don't want to get hurt. You know, I just hear you, and as I was listening to Michael, I would say, if dancing brings joy, focus on the dancing. Don't focus on what other people are going to think about you or judge you or any of that stuff. You know, as well as anyone here in the room, that even if you're the best dancer, there's always going to be someone in the audience saying, I think she's crap. So just focus on your dance. If that brings you joy, I would say just focus on that, and that will generate what I call the wave field, where you start to touch other people. And the joy is very contagious. So if they see you enjoying it, they may even jump in, even if they don't know how to dance. It's contagious. So so that would be my 2 cents here.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great insight there. Because as you dance and move and connect with your body and your movement, it'll open up a whole different interaction with everyone else. Yeah, awesome. Sweet. Well, that was a good first meeting. I really, really am grateful that you guys all came. I really am, and I'd really like to keep meeting once a month if we can, and I'll make the time earlier so you don't have to get up in the middle of the night. Yeah, and so I've already mentioned to a couple of you, we're in the process. I'm meeting with the PVI team again tomorrow, in the process of creating a certificated coach program, and I'll keep you guys all in the loop, and we might need to pull some of you in, which would be great.
Very interested.
Yeah. So
Me too.
So I'll let you guys all know, and we'll keep moving forward, and let's keep the dialogue going, and don't hesitate to reach out. You guys are awesome, and I'm stoked to start building a little community. We've got about 50 people in the PVI health and resilience performance group online, and a lot of those people didn't show, but they signed up, so that's interesting. But I'll send them a recording, and then hopefully they'll join us next time, and we'll keep all embodying these core principles more and more in our life, and then spreading those through our communities, right? And helping us become better people, and better moms and dads and friends, and bosses and leaders and coaches.
Yeah, and I love seeing the artistic people here, voice and
great.
dance.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's a mixture. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
One
you.
quick question. So the
Yeah.
exercises that Ridula was talking about, are they part of that course that I did, or did she?
Yeah, I have some stuff in the end in a PDF, but I'll send them to you.
If it's there, I'll look for it. I'll find
Okay.
it. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you guys.
Nice to
See
meet
ya.
you all.
You're awesome.
See you
Yeah,
soon.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, Marcus.
Bye.
Good night, Marcus.
I made it.
Yay.
You're awesome, man. You're
Bye.
awesome. Bye, Maddie. Bye, Michelle.
Bye, Michael. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Ridula. Bye.